You sly dog. You knew what you were clicking on there. Do I really have any questionable records? You're just going to have to stay tuned to find out. But welcome back to Recordology Live, our fireside chats, our hangout times, our show and tell. Call it what you will. We're going to have a fun time. I do have a bag of records here. Actually, I don't know what records we have here. Is that the official Recordology tote? Yes, it is. And we'll have to get into that too. But I've got 10 records here. They could be questionable. They could be non-questionable. Wow, the hair today is amazing. And I've got some explaining to do, and we're going to do that together. And I'm going to show you what I've got. Also, just want to hang out with you guys. If you are watching the live, engage in the chat. If you are watching the replay, engage in the comment section. We try to treat every video we do, every live we do, as an interactive chatting experience. So if you go back and comment on our first video, I'm going to see those comments and engage with those comments just as much as our newest video. And this is no exception. So as we're waiting for folks to join the live stream, this is a live stream, but I'm doing this like I try to do more videos these days, and that is I try to do them as evergreen content. So it's not just like, oh, you had to be there, because I know that this time it's like 6:45 p.m. right now on the East Coast, and I don't want folks to feel left out. I know that this time just isn't a good time for a lot of people. It's a great time for some people. Inevitably, we end up doing shows about this time, sometimes a little bit later than this even, which is amazing because we'll be on at 2 or 3 a.m. and all of our insomniac friends across the pond that join us always blow my mind. I think that's really cool. So anyway, if you're here, give yourself first of all, ring the bell on the way in the door. I don't know if it's up here for you, but for me, that right there is the thumbs up button. If you wouldn't mind hitting that. Actually, it's probably down here for you. Maybe over there. I have no idea where it is. But find the thumbs up, hit it. That'll tell YouTube that this is a non-vacant room, that people are having fun here. And, they always say, share it out, tell your friends. I mean, do people really do that? Like, hey, friend, I'm watching this YouTube live stream. Aren't you supposed to be mowing your lawn? Yeah, but I want to watch YouTube first. Aren't you supposed to do the dishes? Right after this YouTube stream. So anyway, I always tease my wife that we're going to go 30 minutes or so, and inevitably it's an hour and a half. So this will probably be no different. I try to go for an hour. That's kind of my target. But if it's really engaging and people are having fun, then I want to engage with people, and I like it. I like doing this. I can run my mouth all night long. So I'm not seeing any comments in the chat, which is a little concerning. Let me see. If you're out there watching and not chatting, okay, there we go. Okay, so it's starting to pop up. I have this bad feeling that the comment or the chat thing isn't going to be as functional as I would like it to be. But if you're just joining us, welcome. I've got a bag full of questionable records. Well, they're not really questionable. They are unknown to me. Well, they're known to me. I just don't know which ones. Basically, our esteemed executive producer, a.k.a. my wife, a.k.a. Always Rain, who just dropped a song. Check it out on all streaming platforms. It's called Let's Misbehave. When I was editing the last show, I accidentally typed in Ain't Misbehaving. And she's like, that's a completely different song than Let's Misbehave, don't you? And I said, yeah, sure I do. And it is. It really, really is. Both are great songs. I'm actually featured on that song. So if you want to see me screech out a couple painful lines of singing, check out Let's Misbehave on Spotify, Apple Music, all that stuff by your favorite producer and mine, Always Rain, the beautiful, the talented, the powerful force behind the scenes, who has selected for us 10 random records that we will look at, and I'll say to you, here's the record I have, and why do I have it? I don't know if your guys' record collections have gotten to the point now where you're like, you'll come across something and you'll be like, what? I own this? How do I own? Why do I own this? Should I own this? And it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun. I have my records the correct level of organized for me. And what I mean by that is some people have them completely random. I have too many records to just have random. I would never find anything. But some people have like print offs and they know where every record, or maybe they're alphabetized and categorized. I've got my stuff categorized. It's kind of random, but I've got a Hawaii section. I've got a rock and roll pop section. I've got a Beatles section. I got Glenn Miller. It continues off into another bin, so on and so forth, all the way around here, and then some. All these bins, and I've set mine up like a record shop. Let me pan my camera to the right here. See that? That's some of the collection there, and you can see that sign up there says Rain's Record Shop, because I wanted to set this up like an actual record shop so I can go crate digging in my own home. Well, anyway, what I was going to say is I don't have them alphabetized in the section. So a lot of people would do this, but then also have them alphabetized. I haven't gone that far, and I haven't done the Discogs list and stuff like that. All that to say this, I find stuff as I'm browsing, especially in the miscellaneous section over there, and I'm like, really, I own that. Okay, cool. But yeah, so that's what we're going to be doing. Comments are starting to come into the chat now, so I appreciate that. As any, this is more structured than a regular live. I still want this to be engaging, bi-directional engagement. So I would love for you guys to jump into the comments. Hello from Colorado. Hope you're having a blessed day. Absolutely. And do you know that we were from Colorado? In fact, we were just back there a few weeks ago, and I'm already missing the cooler temperatures. I want it. So like, you've got pumpkin spices out. You've got people talking about fall, and Halloween crap's been out for weeks now. But then it's still 87 degrees down here. It's just like, and humid. So I miss the cooler temperatures for sure. I have some blank Recordio discs that I got at the ARC a couple of years ago. Do you have a way to record on them? So I don't know if I don't have a lathe. I don't know if you saw our last video. If you haven't, might I suggest you check it out. Let me tilt this down a little bit. We talked about how record players work, but I also did a little feature within that show talking about a friend of mine, another YouTuber, name of the Victrola guy, Benjamin J. And he just started a business doing custom records. He has a Presto 6N lathe from like 1950. I meant to say it in the show and I forgot, but it's the same lathe that Sun Records used. So like Elvis, Johnny Cash, all those records were cut on the exact type of lathe that he has. And he does custom records to order. So I bet he would love the opportunity to experience with that. So check out the Victrola guy on YouTube. His email is thevictrolaguy@gmail.com. And if you want to see like a little sample and hear a little sample of a couple records he pressed for me. In fact, do I have them in here? Shoot, I should have brought them in here. I think they're in the studio still. But he pressed a couple of records for me, one on polycarbonate and one on vinyl, like a little 7-inch record. So check them out. That's cool, though. That's really, really cool. Leroy, welcome. Hello from Texas. Was just out in Texas, too. We were out in Houston, and the weather there has been pretty similar. But, yeah, love Texas, love Colorado, obviously. But, no, I don't have a lathe, unfortunately. I would love to. I love these messages I get from YouTube. Somebody's live on your channel. Like, yeah, do you think it's probably me? Good evening from Wales. My people are Welsh. That is really cool, and it is a dream of mine to go across the pond, as they say. I need to go to Wales. I would love to do that. How many record players or turntables do I have, Jacob asks. Like 3? No, I have a lot. Okay, apparently this record is reflecting and causing grief. But it's a cool record, so it's worthy of causing grief. This is a Seabird Music Library record with a 2-inch hole. You know, your favorite YouTuber just happens to make and sell 2-inch Seabird adapters for this very purpose, so you can play your favorite 16 2/3 RPM background music records from the 60s. But apparently that was causing some reflections on the wall. Thank you for the tip. I've got a lot of record players. Obviously, we review them, so we're buying a lot. We get samples. We donate, we sell, and we hoard. we have more record players than we need, but I also want to keep the show interesting. So if I'm demonstrating something, I want to have like a variety of the most interesting ones. You know what I mean? I'm only listening to one record player at any given time. So right now, my listening record players are the Technics SLB5 changer from like the early 80s. It's a wonderful stacker. This is an isolation base. I've got the LP70X over here on my right hand side. On my left hand side, I've got my Orbit U-Turn custom turntable. And for preamps, I've got the Duke T4, I think it is. This has the vertical one you can see there. It's got a V meter on top and 2 tubes there. And I've got a solid state Fozzy Box X5 over here. And both the Technics and the Audio Technica are sharing the Duke. So that's what I'm actively using right now. In my main setup, this is really my main setup, but in my living room setup that I've been building out, where I've put the DAC and the transport and the subwoofer and everything is out there in another part of the house. And that is where the only place I really don't have a record player, which is kind of weird that I don't have that. But I just bring a Bluetooth record player in there if I want to listen to records. Most of the time I listen to CDs or streaming or TV in there. If I'm listening to records, usually I'm in here. So I work from home, and I have the luxury of being able to listen to music while I do it. So I'm very grateful for that. But no, we try to bless everybody we can. We've given away tons of record players on this channel, and we'll do more of that. We have donated tons of equipment to charity. We'll continue doing that. And yeah, it's really cool. It's really fun. We're very blessed. When I started this channel 8 years ago now, over 8 years ago, I would have never, ever imagined that I'd have that luxury. I was so, I was thankful to have the one record player. And then when I was gifted a second one, I thought it was so ridiculously over the top to have 2 record players. But I've just been very grateful. I've been very, very grateful. Yes, AS Blind Made Productions, Alfonso. That's correct. That's exactly right. So check that guy out. I would think so. He can record any size and any speed. Although I don't know if he can do are these 16-inch discs? I don't know if he told me. A lot of transcription records are. If they're 16-inch, I'm not sure about that. By the way, I just happen to have a couple 16-inch discs back here. Oh, these are big. These are big. Look at this. Hard to find them with the sleeves, too. That's a 16-inch sleeve. And to compare it, here's a 12-inch record next to it. So that's like an LP. That shows you how massive this thing is. This is a 1940s armed for. It's a. I'm not gonna take it out of the sleeve because it's brittle, but it's a black vinyl. It is vinyl. It's not shellac. 33 1/3 RPM record, and 33 was a format that was used in the broadcast industry long before it was commercially a thing. And then, oops, let's not break those. And then just because we're looking over here, I've also got a keep an eye on that. Let me know if you see that. Somebody say keep that one to yourself. You see that tilting over, let me know. I am actually very bad with handling my records, and I know people in the comments when I'm doing shows in like stores and stuff, are you so rough with everything? Yes, I have a hard time. I need to be more. My own stuff is not excluded from that. Anyway, since we're on the subject, here's a modern 78 that was brand new, relatively brand new, 20. I think it's came out 2020, so 5 years old. Love this band. If you like swing music, if you like jazz, especially 20s, 30s jazz, big band music, do yourself a favor. Out of the UK, we have Alex Mendham and his orchestra. Absolutely awesome. Now, having been a fan of big band music for many years, a lot of modern, how do I say this gently? And I love modern big bands But I remember one of my first exposures to big band music, live big band music, was going to an Elks Club. I'm not a member of it or anything like that. But they had a battle of the big bands. And as a wide-eyed young Mr. Recordology, just, branching out into his own musical exploration, I wanted to experience live big band music. And so I went there, and there was a lot of, regional bands, some of which were better than others. But a lot of modern swing big band stuff tends to be, pick your words carefully, not as hip, jiving, jumping, live, upbeat isn't really the word. They're just not as good sometimes. That's a generalization. Some great modern big bands out there. The current Glenn Miller Orchestra, which was better when we had Nick at the helm. But still, a lot of the modern stuff is better now. But there are a lot of not so hip modern jazz big band things that I've experienced in the past. Okay, all that to say this, these guys are different, very hip, mostly young folks in the band. I love people that are not young, but there's an energy and a synergy. These guys dress the part, they look the part. It's amazing. So anyway, so this is a cool one. 78 RPM. It's vinyl as well. You have to play this on a modern record player. 78 RPM. You can really get a lot of mileage out of these on a Crosley Cruiser or something, because they've got the 78 RPM. This is a micro groove. They don't have, these are not wide groove, 3 mil grooves. So it actually works really, really good on a modern suitcase player. But I love the vintage label and everything. This one's signed by Alex. It was sent in by a very generous viewer. And we'll get to the records here in a minute. I've got this mystery bag. By the way, if you want to look as cool as I do, I'm the furthest thing from cool. I've never been cool. I never will be cool. So it was kind of cringe when I just said that. But anyway, if you want a bag like this to shop for records, we sell them in our store along with a bunch of other cool merch. Check this out. This is an older version with the artwork I don't think we offer anymore, but I think it's cool. And it's a great way to keep secreted our records that have been chosen for us to review. We'll do that shortly. I want to get caught up on comments here. And I appreciate each and every one of you being here. Why did I move from Colorado? So my wife and I and our kids had vacationed out here off and on for many years. And we loved it. We had a lot of fun. And when our kids grew up and moved out of the house, started families of their own. And we're like, well, this is kind of our chance to do something crazy like this. We had never really moved out of state or done anything like that. We're both Colorado natives. So we did it. We had been praying about it for a long time and really felt that when the time was right, it would be up to us to open that door and to make that happen, to really manifest that dream of ours. And it was years in the making. And when the timing was right, we did it. And everything aligned, and it happened. So for this season, we're here. It's been almost 3 years now, which is hard to believe. Next March, I think, will be 3 years. And we definitely miss a lot about Colorado, the familiarity, the weather. One of the things that we said we wanted to move away for was the weather. But you miss seasons, you miss cooler air, the heat, the humidity. Sounds like, I remember when I lived in Colorado and people would complain about that. I'd be like, what are you bitching about temperature and heat? Like, how can that be bad? I love the heat, but there's something about it being every day. And it does cool off a little bit in the evenings during the winter season, but the rest of the year, it's summer. And obviously we've got a lot of family back there. So we love, but it gives us a great excuse to travel too. So we're bouncing around between Florida, Texas, and Colorado. We enjoy that. Hello from Bedford, Indiana. Do you like ELO? Out of the Blue album is awesome. So I am aware, obviously, of ELO, and I've enjoyed their music. I just haven't collected any yet. I probably need to do that. Laverne, welcome in. Cool. Oh, yeah, the LED lighted platters are cool. I've got that FIO automatic. I was listening to that not too long ago with the lights. It's really cool. I like it better than I did when I reviewed it. Eric, hello from Tampa. Thank you so much. You'll notice, by the way, some folks have a little R badge by their name. That's indicative of people that have that are members of the channel. And while a lot and most of the content we do is free, we do some members exclusive content, early access to videos, etc. It's only $1 a month. So if you want exclusive content, these extra badges, we have little emojis and things that only members can use in live chats. You're welcome to join us. We'd love to have you. It's only $1 a month. There's links all over on the channel where you can join us. We'd love to have you along for the journey. Also, if you see anybody with a wrench, that means they're a moderator. I've heard of the 8 RPM records. I know of them, but I haven't got my hands on them yet. Oh, okay, your Recordio disc 7 inch. Yeah, you should be able to do that. How much record can a 16-inch record hold per side? At 33 RPM, that's a good question. I think they can do a full hour. And I think that might be the reason why they're that size. I could be wrong on that. Tim Allen, my friend, welcome in here. So glad to have you here. I need to catch some of your content. I've been missing out on stuff, and I need to get caught up around the horn with some of our friends out there. Thank you for joining us. Southern Legacy. Interesting. I'll have to check it out. I love bluegrass. Where can I get a 16-inch record at? Do you have another one that I can have for my collection? So I don't have any that I can give out. I have only 4 16-inch transcription records. The good news is there are a lot out there, but you're never going to find them like at a record shop. You're never going to find them at a thrift store. I mean, anything could happen, but you probably won't. These were purchased either on eBay or on Etsy. I broke one of mine. It's really stupid how I broke it too. But I've got 3 in pretty dang good condition. One that's a little chipped at the edge. The next thing is, do you have a record player that can handle them? So I've got one. The transcription record players are super expensive, and you have to. The best thing to do is find a record player that just has enough room for that. There are record players out there. They're harder to find. I have this thing. It's a Cool Geek brand vertical turntable we reviewed on the channel. It's got an acrylic platter, a moving magnet cartridge. It's cool. The built-in speakers suck. That's the only thing I don't really care for about it. It's got audio output connections, but it's got a long tone arm. It can accommodate a 16-inch record. So I've got that up there on the bookshelf. That's what I'm pointing at in case you want. Also, the 5 Below record player that we reviewed, the vertical one, it's on the set. You'll see it. I use it to just display records. That can actually just barely, I believe, accommodate or almost accommodate a 16-inch record, but it's hard to find them to do that. Jeremy's in Colorado too. That's awesome. Okay, so thank you guys for being there. I really appreciate you. Let's get into these records. Why do I own these records? What is my excuse for owning these records? Are they party records? Are they inappropriate? Or are they just random? First one, and I don't know what these are. Oh, cool. Okay, cool. Yeah, this is cool. Like, these were chosen at random, and I wasn't involved in the picking of them. Okay. This is a cool one. I love this. Okay. This is Abbott and Costello's Christmas Stocking. This is old time radio. I love old time radio. My earliest memories of old time radio are going to the library and renting old time radio on cassettes. So this is Abbott and Costello, the Christmas stocking. So this is really, really cool. I've never listened to this. It says $4 from Wax Tracks. Bought this back in Denver. So this is like a budget label kind of deal. Holiday Records. But look at the logo down there. Isn't that cool? So yeah, one on one side you got a Christmas episode, and then their famous "Who's on First" sketch, and another one on the second side. I need to listen to that. That's cool. That's a cool one. So I have this because of old time radio. I love old time radio. Right now, I've been on this Bob Hope kick for the last year. Not quite a year, but since last getting about a year. Yeah, it's about 10, 11 months now. And I've been working through all of his radio shows, as many as you can get your hands on. So that is, and I also have some, Eric, it's a good point you bring that up. I've also got some stuff that you would be like, really? You own that? I've got the Barbie movie soundtrack on cassette because it's a cool pink cassette, and more so than the music. I never saw the movie. All right, this is a great record. This is the next one on our list. This is Glenn Miller. That's the name of the record. And this is really cool. If you love Glenn Miller, you will see this. I love this picture. This picture has been used and reused for different album covers. If you are a Glenn Miller collector, and this looks vaguely familiar, it's the same photograph that's on the cover of Pure Gold. And Pure Gold was a very prolific re-release. These are all obviously compilation albums in the LP era, 60s and 70s era stuff. LPM, this is RCA Victor. LPM denotes that it's a mono pressing. And that's the kind that a Glenn Miller fan wants, because Glenn Miller was recorded in mono, and the fake stereo stuff, and we've done shows about fake stereo, introduces a lot of artifacts and stuff that people don't like if they're collecting. But there was an era in the early 60s where they were just desperate for stereo content, because it was like the 4K ultra high def technology wonder of the early era of vinyl. And so they were trying to reissue mono catalog recordings in stereo. So they created this fake stereo process, and it's not as desirable as the mono. You can look at that label and say this is like 68 to probably 70 something because of that 70s era logo. Let's see if it says right on there. But this is really good stuff. I'll have to see. Original reissue of 1956. This is definitely not a 56 issue, just based on that label. It's greatest hits stuff. So this is, most of the Glenn Miller records out there, compilation, are not going to dig that deep into the catalog. It's going to be mostly rechurned greatest hits material, which for a lot of people, that's what they want. You know what I mean? They maybe have one or two Glenn Miller records, and they want Chattanooga Choo Choo and In the Mood, kind of stuff. This is one of those records, but it's a good one. Highly recommended. And again, you'll find these for next to nothing. Thrift stores, antique stores. Records at antique stores and equipment at antique stores are always going to be overpriced. eBay, it's not a rare record. It's not going to, it's not going to be worth a lot of money. I am connected to the Glenn Miller archive. So I've had the opportunity to see like the gold record presented to Helen Miller of a lot of these reissues. Yeah. Oh, do you have that one, William? That's cool. Yeah, it's a bummer. And these are not, these are in decent condition, but keep in mind the 16-inch transcriptions and the V-discs too. I'm very blessed to have a V-disc, a Glenn Miller one at that. They were never made to last. It was like the newspaper. It was printed to be used and then discarded. And so the fact that any of them last to this day is amazing. So it doesn't surprise me. And these ones don't sound that great either. They've got a lot of noise, but they're historic. They're really, really cool. I had a viewer who contacted me a year or two ago and said that he had a massive collection of AFRS discs like these that he was going to give to the show. And I hope he's okay, because I know he was struggling with some medical issues, which is way more important than records. But it just brought him to mind. So hope he's doing good. Oh, that's interesting about that custom record. Huh. To cut a record, from what I understand, it's a pretty tricky thing. The Buffy the Vampire Slayer one's 500 to 1,000. Which one is 500 to 1,000? That's cool though. I've got $1,000 record. We've done videos about it before. It's $1,000 because I was told so. Okay. Next up, we have a record with a sleeve on backwards. It's messing with my ability to get it out. Like my mind is. I'm gonna flip it over because what on earth? Oh, this. Okay, the label is sticking to the. There's sticker residue from the price tag. Buffy. Wow, that's crazy. You never know, right? This is a cool record. This is unique. I forgot I had this too. So after I went through my Patsy Cline phase of 2022, I've now got these things. They're ordered by year because I've been able to identify the year. So Patsy Cline era of 2021 to 2022 was followed by the Peggy Lee and Beatles of 2023. So this is from the Peggy Lee. I've collected a bunch of Peggy Lee now. I probably have as much Peggy Lee as I have Patsy Cline, at least on vinyl. So this is Sugarin'. And you may be like, Sugarin', what the heck is it? So this is early 60s, late 50s. I can look it up to be sure. But check out how they did this. This is really, really cool. So on this side, we got Sugar and Spice. So it looks like two album covers. Sugar and Spice. That's really cool. The official title is Sugar and Spice. And it's got like a dual cover. It is a single record, I believe. Yep, it's on a Capitol Rainbow. These are great quality pressings. I feel like the Capitol Rainbows are as good as like as a Victor. Is an RCA Victor Black Label. But yeah, this swinging Peggy Lee music is really, really good. All these songs are great. I need to set this aside to listen to because, again, one of the good things about doing this is I'm able to be like, oh, yeah, I've got that record. I need to give that a listen. Orchestra conducted by Benny Carter. And again, so when you're searching for records at a thrift store, an antique store, wherever, there's certain titles you always come across. And we've joked about this. You will find Jim Nabors. You will find Barbra Streisand. You will find Herb Alpert. You will find certain titles that are just always, they're prolific. You'll always find Mitch Miller. And we've done shows about this, the typical thrift store records, except for my friend Tim Allen, who is able to find, somehow he's got the world's best thrift store record collection. They only charge them like 2 cents for a record or something ridiculous. In Colorado, the Goodwill was starting to charge $3.50 for a used record, and they weren't any better than back when they were $1. But usually, you expect to pay $1 for like a thrift store record. You won't find a lot of Peggy Lee there, and so I always wonder about that. Does the fact that they're in the thrift store mean that they were so popular? Obviously, Barbra Streisand, these names were huge, so it's not like they weren't popular and that's why they're at the thrift store. Maybe it's that they don't have, lasting value and their owners have moved on to other things. Why, is it a good record that ends up in the thrift store or bad? You don't see any rock and roll. You'll never see Beatles there, but it's something, yeah. Oh, really? The ARC started shrink wrapping their CDs? Oh my goodness. No fun. No fun. Anyway, you won't see Peggy Lee in the wild very much. At least I haven't. This is kind of one you need to track down on eBay or Discogs or something like that. But that's great music. I love Peggy Lee's kind of like the big band version of Patsy Cline. Okay, this is a fun record. This was an expensive record. To me, expensive. It's all relative. I say expensive, and somebody else will be like, that's nothing. But this is the soundtrack to Lilo and Stitch, not the new movie. The new movie, by the way, I liked it when it first came out, and then as time went on, I was like, it was okay. I don't know if I would. Do I think shrink wrapping will prevent theft? Only from the sense of somebody that's on the verge of, becoming a thief or continuing their thievery. Maybe like, well, if it's used, then they're not really losing anything because it's donated anyway, justifying their sin. But on the other hand, if they see it shrink wrap, they may be like, well, this might be a more significant loss. The question is the shrink wrap for the purpose of hiding an anti-theft device? Remember those little white plastic puffy tags they would stick inside CDs? Anyway, this is the soundtrack to the animated original film and Hawaiian roller coaster ride, etc. Great music. Some Elvis is on here. Just wonderful, wonderful music. I love Stitch. I'm a huge Stitch fan. I collect Stitches, but what makes this one rare? This is a non-regular pressing. This was made in the EU. This is pressed on what they call Curacao blue. This is one of the most gorgeous records I have. Look at that beautiful, beautiful pressing. It's thick. It's not. I don't think it's a 200 gram. I don't really care for 200 gram records, but this is like feels like a 200 gram is real thick. I know they make them, but 180 is what I was trying to say. This feels a little lighter than that, like 170. It is thick, but it's not like ridiculous thick. But beautiful Curacao blue. Got a good deal on it, but it was a bit more. It's on a paper sleeve, but it's polylined, so I keep them if they're polylined. Gorgeous. I need to listen to this too. This is giving me all kinds of good stuff to listen to tomorrow. So I appreciate you being here and helping me discover some music that I have and need to listen to. I'm literally going to set some of these aside. We're going to listen to Peggy Lee tomorrow. We're going to listen to Stitch. Glenn Miller, we're going to skip. Alan Costello. I have a hard time focusing at work when I'm listening to spoken words. We'll probably hold off on that for right now. Okay. Got another record here. Oh, this is a this is a funny one. Let me get caught up here before we do this next one. Did you really, Tim? Really? Introduce the meals of blank. Really? Wow. Have you done a video? You need to. That's crazy. That is so cool. Do I have a collection of 45s? I do. In fact, thank you for the segue. I really appreciate that. I love your YouTube title, by the way. My wife and I started a podcast, which we host here on the Recordology YouTube channel. It's audio only. It's designed that way. We have a folder. Did you guys know we have playlists? If you go into the playlist, you can look at all of our review videos, all of our, beginners in vinyl videos, all of our history videos. And we have a folder for lives. We have a folder for our podcast. We've done 3 episodes, and the last one we did, this Matt is acting weird. The last one we did was all about 45. So we talked about 45s. I do have 45s. I don't have a huge 45 collection. What I've got can fit in a couple of boxes. I've mostly tried to collect the odd, the unique, weird things, unique things. This is one of my favorite 45 things. This is not part of our show today. It's not part of our mystery record thing. But this is Volume 2 Glenn Miller limited edition, the rarer of the two. And they made a lot of these Glenn Miller sets in 12-inch versions and with 5 records, or the 10 to 12 EP versions, which are truncated, but still really, really good. Put the stack of those up on the changer, and we're good to go for a whole afternoon of music. Oh, dude, I got to see that. That's cool, dude. What a find. I don't think I've ever seen a Beatles anything at a thrift store. You know what I did see? This. I don't know if you have this. This is a Beatles bootleg, which was well loved by somebody, and they've drawn all kinds of things all over it. I found this at Lakeland Antique Mall, which is this massive antique mall. Actually, they've downsized. It's not as massive as it used to be. Apparently, these are South Korean because it says manufactured by Taedo Record Company of Seoul, Korea. Which is hard to read on the back. Microscopic lyrics printed out on this flimsy paper thing. Surprisingly, the record it's really good. It would think, being a bootleg and everything, that it would sound like garbage. It says full frequency stereo on it, but check this out. And there's like these little heart emoji things around the perimeter. It's gonna be hard to low light in the webcam. I'm sorry, but and look how much music is crammed on there. It almost looks like a DMM pressing or something. But I found all that to say this. I found one of these for the was it the Bee Gees or the Beach Boys? One of the two. Just like this, with a weird monotone cover. It was might have been the same record company. Maybe that was their style. But it was like on an clear orange record. And it was at we were in the country somewhere back in Colorado. And I just happened to be going into one of those I always see these like antique signs on these old like log cabin looking buildings, these little towns. And this day in particular, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go in there and see what they actually got. I've always wanted to do that. I feel like you get the best antique stuff at like a rural antique store. And I went in there and he had like, maybe 20 to 30 records, maybe 50 records. They were really beat up. There was nothing there I liked. But they had this bootleg on, clear orange vinyl of the Beach Boys or the Bee Gees. Well, I think it was the Beach Boys, now that I'm thinking about it. But that's cool. That's really, really cool. Wait, you have the Home Alone album? Did you say that earlier? Dude, Home Alone is an expensive record. It's awesome, dude. I would love that. That would be a grail record for me. I've got Home Alone, the first soundtrack, and I want the score. I'm not interested in the pop music soundtracks. Oh, Buffy. It was a Buffy. But what did you say, Home Alone? You have a Home Alone one for $100? Yeah. Anyway, I would love to find that. Certain records I know are like that, like the Beatles' Let It Be Naked. I love the Let It Be Naked version. The acoustic, the mix is better. But yeah. Okay, so those are unauthorized or counterfeit, not bootlegs. I don't know if I could tell you the difference. Anyway, it wasn't an official issue. That's all I know. That's cool, Eric. Jealous. You found that where? Where did you find that? All right, next record. Why Do I Own It record. Those were the days. The way Glenn Miller played. So one of my earliest memories of television as a child growing up back in Colorado was seeing All in the Family on. It was like one of my earliest. I mean, we're talking like mid 80s. I remember in that era seeing Sesame Street. I remember seeing All in the Family. I remember seeing this is All in the Family. But actually what I was thinking when I said All in the Family was Different Strokes. I remember seeing Different Strokes. Those are like my earliest television memories. I didn't know anything about what it was about. I didn't know any of the controversy and political correctness stuff. I just remember that theme song, that iconic theme song. Yeah, you see this pop up fairly often. But yeah, I came across this, I think, and snapped it up. And Atlantic Records, that famous two-tone Mexican flag colors. Atlantic Records. Very cool. I need to listen to this too. So you know what? This is going on tomorrow's playlist. That is so cool. Those were the days. That song is just like takes me back. What else is on here? A lot of this might be like spoken word. I'm not sure. When I went on a school trip. We took a school trip to Washington, D.C. And I've been to Washington, D.C. a number of times. I love it there. And I'm a history buff, so I love this stuff. I'm really sad my picture fell off. I need to find. There's a thumbtack holding that up. So sorry it looks kind of messy right now. And when I went to the American Museum, the Smithsonian Museum, oh my gosh. I'm an aviation buff too. So like the Air and Space Museum was incredible. But seeing like some of the Americana stuff at the American History Museum, like one of the pairs of the ruby slippers, I didn't know at the time there was like 7 of them, but one of the pairs of the ruby slippers Archie Bunker's Chair. I remember seeing that. Sanford and Son. I know of that. I've seen clips. Yeah. Oh, really? There's a volume 2. I got to check that out. Trans-Siberian Orchestra Night Castles 110. Wow. Yeah, where are you scoring them? Okay, that's pretty dang good. So where are you scoring all these out? Eric, you need to spill the beans, man. What's your supply chain for records? Okay, next record out of the mystery bin. Ooh, this is cool. This is a really special one too. So this was the first time that I actually partnered with a record label, if you can believe it. And it was like 2019, I think, 2018, 2019. Either I'm getting shorter, of the webcam is drifting higher. I don't know which. And I don't know if I reached out to them or if they reached out to me. It was Universal Music. And unfortunately, my contact there is fizzled out. I no longer have. I have a contact, but they're non-responsive to me. But we worked out a deal to do a show promoting the, and it wasn't a promote. It was no cash was exchanged. They just sent me the record and I showed it on the channel. But I did it to coincide with the premiere of this. This is a reissue of this famous album, Sings for Only the Lonely, considered to be the first concept album of all time. And what was really cool is the original version was available in mono and stereo, I believe, but they got a hold of some 3-track tapes where his voice was isolated, so it's remixed. So this set is really, really cool. It's got 2 records. It's on a classic Rainbow Capital pressing. So the records are very high quality, but they're not like clear or anything. But they've included the original record, I believe, and then the remastered one. And it's just incredible, man. It's like it was recorded yesterday. I put them in higher end rice paper sleeves, anti-static, but I kept the original paper sleeves for obvious reasons here. They're just super cool. I love this stuff. My rule of thumb is if a record comes in an interesting, historic, or art-worthy sleeve, even if I upgrade the sleeve to something nice, because you don't want it in paper, although these are softer than like a harsh paper one. These are smoother, but still keep the sleeves. So what I do is I just slide the original sleeves right in there. This is a thick issue because it is a dual record set. Each record is 180 grams. But yeah, this is great. If you like Sinatra, this is commemorating the 60th anniversary. That's why we did that. 60th anniversary edition, Only the Lonely. This is a great album. This is like night music. You put it on at night with a candle in the room and some tea or water, and just kind of turn the lights down low, lay back on the couch, close your eyes. And this is incredible for that. Just absolutely phenomenal. Again, I'm going to add that to my list too. I'm going to have a lot of listening for tomorrow. Where are you getting these? James Street Overpass. Is that a record you have? That's cool. Okay. Next up, this is a beat up record. This is a well-loved record. This actually makes me happy. Some people may look at a worn out record and be like upset because they want a better copy. But sometimes I look at a worn out record and I smile because I think that meant a lot to somebody. They enjoyed it. And such is the case with this. Elvis's Blue Hawaii, famous soundtrack to his film, one of his films in his 60s, cranking out like 400 films a year era, all these Hal Wallace productions. I love his movie music. I know he himself thought it was not that good. He wasn't as proud of it as he should have been. I think it's amazing. I love his movie soundtracks. This whole album is good. Every single one of these songs is good. Now, if you look on the back, some of this looks like it's drawn, but it's actually part of the album, I believe. But the hearts on every track, probably not original. The hearts around Blue Hawaii, probably not original. I think the girl that owned this wrote her name somewhere on there, but I'm not sure if I just remember that wrong. So if you like Elvis music and you haven't done so already, find yourself these movie soundtracks. They're kind of hard to find sometimes. It's a black RCA Victor. I think the playing surface is okay. It's got a little bit of scratches too, but it's still very listenable. But this thing is, I mean, it's been taped and retaped. Look at this. Got an old tape and then new masking tape, newer masking tape. Still probably 40 years old. But they all look similar. They've got a picture of the king, and then they got this movie strip on the side, and they're so fun. Sometimes you'll see them $5-6. It's one of those artists that people think are worth so much just because it's Elvis. He's famous. They got to be worth something. But they made these things. They made more of these than they made dollar bills that year probably. So it's prolific. Let's just say that. So I would pay, if you like this stuff, I would pay 10 to 15. If you really want it, it's good condition, closer to 20, but nothing over that. You see somebody selling these for 35, 40 bucks. Keep looking. Appreciate y'all being there, by the way. How many more do we have? Okay. All right. Next up on the list. Ooh, that's a good one. That'll be fun. Next up on the list is Beatles. The Beatles. With the Beatles. So, and I decided to, when I had my Elvis phase of 2023, yeah, I've got them like date stamped. I decided I wanted to collect the UK catalog, the official catalog, and avoid the US pressings because if you don't know, the version, the Meet the Beatles, which looks a lot like With the Beatles, has a little bit different track listing. Sometimes different songs were issued, different takes. So the US records are like a whole other can of worms. Obviously, most of us in the US were exposed to those originally. But by the 80s, I think it was, they standardized on the UK catalog. So, and I know there was a big US album re-release. They, the Beatles do a yearly re-release this year. What was it this year? Oh, shoot. Dang it. I should have said that until I knew. I did see it, but I didn't get it this year. I got the blue and red albums that year, 2023, when they came out. But I decided I want to collect the UK albums, so that's the ones I have. I have all of their albums, UK official issues, on either CD or vinyl with a couple duplicates. I have a couple 8-tracks, a couple cassettes, quite a few CDs as well. But I don't have everything on vinyl. I don't have everything on CD. Anyway, this is With the Beatles. This is, I think, the 2019 reissue, 2009 issue. And it's got this nasty dimple here that doesn't impact the record, but it was like a puncture wound on the cover only. This is a very thick pressing on Parlophone Records. Beautiful, sounds great, and everybody's like, stereo, not stereo Beatles. That's no good. You want mono. I personally prefer stereo Beatles. Did he say that? You're not allowed to like Beatles stereo. You're not allowed. You have to like Beatles mono only. I personally like Beatles stereo. I'm not a huge fan of split track. Split track was more for mastering purposes anyway. So when you got the voices on one channel, the music on another, those weren't really for listening purposes. That was like, for the engineer to down mix into a mono release. But if it's a modern stereo mix, then I have no problem with a stereo mix. These sound good to me. Great album, of course. I mean, this is pretty much the beginning. This is right at the beginning. I love the original Ematex branding on the back. They've kept it very OG, which I appreciate. So yeah, that's a great album too. Oops. That's cool. That's really cool. You got those. Some Johnny Cash, 84 bucks. See, and my approach to records have always has always been for the material, the music. I'm a music first person. A lot of people say that. Then they're like, but I'll only listen through my $10,000 preamp. I truly am. I mean, I enjoyed this music when I had, poor equipment, and I enjoy this music now that I have less poor equipment. But I've never been in it for like, I'm going to buy that record as an investment piece and, You know, if I have a record framed on the wall, boop, it's because it's historical to me. It's interesting, the story behind it. That's Patsy Cline's very first single ever. And then behind this is Patsy Cline's very first album ever, and the earliest version of each. That's what I'm in it for, more so than investment. But it is fun to go back and look and be like, whoa, I didn't realize that's worth something. So Eric, where are you finding this stuff, man? Where are you finding it? Okay, here's a record store release. I got this, I think Record Store Day 23. I think I'm going to say Record Store Day of 23. This is Incense and Peppermints, Strawberry Alarm Clock, quintessential 60s hippie music. Psychedelic rock. I love this. 67. Check this out. Strawberry Alarm Clock should always be on a pink record. Look how cool that looks. Look how gorgeous. Record Store Day exclusive. Oh, beautiful. This music is good too. And obviously, people think of Strawberry Alarm Clock as Incense and Peppermint's one-hit wonder. Don't think that. This whole album is good. Everything on this album is fantastic. So even if you don't find this version, get a hold of this record. This was individually numbered too. I didn't realize that. There's 3,000 copies made, and I've got number 1749. So that's good stereo. Just an incredible recording. Love it. Well, Eric, you've got some good stuff, dude. That's awesome. That's really cool. That's a great record. This is so good. Incense and peppermint, the color of time. I guess nobody wanted to sing that, so like somebody's brother or friend sang it. It wasn't like the regular singer. Okay, this is an interesting story, and some people that have been around here for a while have heard this story. I'm going to try and make it as short as possible. This is K-Star's The Jazz Singer. And before I discovered Patsy Cline, I actually found Patsy Cline through K-Star. And the way I found K-Star was through Glenn Miller. I've been a Glenn Miller fan for a long time. Since I was a teenager, I've been a Glenn Miller fan. I used to listen, in high school and stuff, to popular music, rock, rap. I was, in that vein for a period of time. Personal decision, decided to change overnight. And I wanted the happiest, most upbeat, uplifting, positive music possible. And I picked, this last one is cracking me up. I picked big band music, and I just started, collecting big band music, and I really discovered I love Glenn Miller. So I've been into Glenn Miller for a long time. I've now branched back out and enjoy a variety of music, as you can see now. For a long time, all I listened to was big band, a long time. I needed that positive in my life. I've now branched back into, I listen to a lot of everything. I haven't gone into everything that I used to listen to. I try to keep everything very positive, etc. Okay, so Glenn Miller, their main girl singer, Marion Hutton, was out for a couple of weeks. They hired this girl from Tennessee, K-Star, who was like 15 or 16, to come up from Tennessee just for 2 weeks. And they happened to be, during those 2 weeks, recording a couple of songs, which I can't think of the name of right now. 2 songs that she recorded, and I always liked the vocalist. I looked up the name, found out it was K-Star for those 2 Glenn Miller recordings, then found out that she had a prolific recording career. She was very well known in the 50s especially. And again, it's kind of Peggy Lee type jazz, pop music. This is a Capitol release. And her music is great. A very powerful singer. This is another Capitol Rainbow release. And I found out that one of K-Star's fans was Patsy Cline. And I just so happened to have recently picked up, at the time, a Patsy Cline collection, a record showcase, which I thought was a greatest hits at the time. It's not. It's an album. And I was like, I got to give that a listen. If K-Star was an influence for Patsy Cline, then maybe I need to listen to some Patsy Cline too. And following the dotted lines between artists can be a fun way sometimes of discovering music. I've since gone on to Brenda Lee and others because of Patsy Cline. I'm kind of in this Brenda Lee phase right now. I've also been discovering some Connie Francis, which is kind of coexisted at the same time more than direct influence. But yeah, that's how I happen to have that showcase album, and I picked it up in a free bin. Still can't find the video where I find that thing, but I documented it in a video, I believe. And I listened to that Patsy Cline record, and I put down my K-Star records for a long time. But I still have a decent collection of those. I'm glad to have it. If you like, she had some great songs. I mean, just some really good powerhouse 50s era female vocalists. I'm trying to think. This isn't. What was the Rock and Roll Waltz is one of her famous ones. Wheel of Fortune and Rock and Roll Waltz. Look up those two K-Star songs. They're the most well known. The Man with the Bag. I love that song. There's this remix version where they've added like this dubstep beat to it. Ooh, that's cool. I've got some Artie Shaw too. I think I've got some Artie Shaw 78s. Artie Shaw is a contentious figure if you're a Glenn Miller fan. It's kind of interesting. This next record isn't a record. And I'm sure that our executive producer put this in there with a smirk on her cute face because she knew that I would talk about the fact this isn't a record, but it brings up a really good thing that happened. I wish this was a record. So one of my top 4 movies of all time has got to be Grumpier Old Men with Sophia Loren, Anne Margaret, Jack Lemmon, and Walter Matthau. I love this movie. I love the first one too. And the soundtrack to this, by the way, there is a soundtrack, but it was never on vinyl. Looks just like this. I've got it on CD. I've got multiple copies. Great. Love it. One of the best songs ever recorded in the history of non-vocal music is a short 45-second waltz called, it's like Who Cares or So What? I think it's something like that. Anyway, it's on the Grumpier Old Men soundtrack. It is beautiful. Some of the most beautiful music. If you remember this movie, it's when Walter Matthau is trying to serenade Sophia Loren in a boat, and he rolls up, and the sound cuts out, and he goes into frame. Very romantic stuff. But anyway, this is a great example of what record collectors often find when they're looking for records. This isn't a record. This is a movie. It's a laser disc. They're 12 inches, the same physical dimensions to the untrained eye. So somebody put this in a record bin, and I was flipping through it, and I'm like, I have to have that because it's my favorite movie. I've never had a Laserdisc player. That was for rich people when I was growing up. You can never, ever. The only time I ever had any exposure to a Laserdisc player, I don't think I've ever even touched one, was in film school in the late 90s. There was a Laserdisc player. This was so premium to me. At the time I didn't know it's analog video, even though it's optical, it's not digital. It's analog video with digital audio. This was so premium. I remember seeing these at Media Play. They had like a curated section of Laserdiscs, and it was like so expensive, like $59 for a movie. But the idea of skipping tracks, and then obviously when DVD came out, I did jump on that. It was expensive too. But this is so cool to have. It's just a collector's item for me that I did keep it. So tips for care of Laserdiscs. These are cool. This is a cool sleeve. I mean, it's a polyline sleeve. Here's the disc. It's got a little crack on it. I don't know if that's still even playable, but let me see if I can show you that. That's about the best way to do it. Look at that. Isn't that neat? That is so cool. Thick. By the way, speaking of Victrola guy, Custom Records, he tried to record audio onto this. I don't know what laser discs are made out of. I would guess polycarbonate, but he actually said the recording quality of it was really bad, at least with his lathe as an embossing lathe. That's the way he has it set up, as an embossing lathe. And the sound was really noisy. I know people have recorded to vinyl or recorded to CDs, specifically like 3-inch ones and the larger ones, and I've had good quality sonic results. And those are polycarbonate too, so I don't know. Yeah, I remember the video discs. I don't remember them personally, but I know of them now. where it was literally, they had movies on vinyl. And then what was the CAD was the version of this. It was in a cartridge, and the machine would suck the disc out. And this is the actual Laserdisc one that you would handle. But yeah, the video on vinyl thing where it was like a 400 RPM disc. Crazy technology, man. I can't believe that they managed to do that. That's wild. But yeah, those are my records. And everyone's got a story behind it. One of the reasons why I love this hobby is that when we collect something, we can usually say, where did I get that? It's got a story. Like I told you the stories about these records, the ones that we looked at here. If I grab anything, here's a CD. Here's a story behind this CD too. By the way, this is very cool. This is an import, but it's very, very well done. This is a soundtrack to the last road movie that Bing Crosby and Bob Hope did. This is 62, I believe, maybe 63. The Road to Hong Kong. Also, the only one that wasn't for Paramount. They did this for United Artists because their contracts have run out. They've also combined this with the soundtrack to another Bing Crosby movie I've never seen called Save One for Me. It's got Robert Wagner, and who else is in there? Debbie Reynolds. So very, very cool. The fidelity of this thing is incredible. Is incredible. I love this kind of stuff. I know this is nerdy. It's not mainstream. It's not the Beatles. It's not, Ozzy and all this stuff. But I've always been an oddball in many ways, but with my music taste, I was never listening to the right thing. You know what I mean? I remember very vividly one of these memories that just kind of imprints itself in your memory. I remember in high school, I think it was, I didn't have a lot of CDs. I had, a pretty modest collection. They were expensive. You know what I mean? You wouldn't just, I could not afford to willy-nilly just go buy whatever I wanted. So I'd have to save up. I'd have to work for it. I'd have to do chores. I'd have to, pay my bills with my meager paycheck. And then I would, have to have enough to get something I could justify. Anyway, I had a couple of CDs with me, and this is in the 90s, mid to late 90s, high school era, when portable CD players were all the rage. Everybody in high school had a portable CD player, and I had a Sony. I've told this story before. I'm not going to tell it again. I had the little Sony D131 that I still have. And the cool thing was to have these little purses with it. They were like these little leather Logitech, I think. Was it Logitech? Logic? Maybe it was Logic. Made like these little leatherette cases. You could fit like 3 or 4 CDs in their jewel cases. Then there's a zippered pouch above that. You put your CD player. And then there's like this Velcro flap. And the whole thing was about that thick, and it had a neck strap. So you've got, in my school, like 1,500 kids walking down the hallway with this. And you would listen. The idea is you get to class as soon as you could, put on your headphones and listen to your music for 5-10 minutes until class started. And that's just what we did. So that wasn't the weird part. What was weird is what I was listening to, because while everybody else is listening to Metallica, REM, whatever, the case may be, the cool music of the era, I was listening to, Lena Horne, MGM records. I was listening to Harry Connick Jr.'s Christmas album. Even back then, I loved Christmas so much I listened to it all year round. I was listening to That's Entertainment on CD and stuff like that. And anyway, I have this memory. I was at the library during recess. That's how cool I was. And I remember going to, I was at the library and I was listening to, was it Lena Horne or one of those things? And this kid, I didn't know he was a bully type, comes up from behind me and rips my headphones off my head. He's like, "What are you listening to?" Puts it on his head, and it was like one of those things. And he's like, "Man, you listen to like cartoon music." And just walks away. I'm like, well, pretty much, probably. And honestly, I like it. It's happy. It makes me happy. But yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's fun to check it out. I like to share the odd collection. And I really, one of these days, I need to go through my miscellaneous category. I got some weird stuff. I've got stuff that kind of borders on party discs, nothing that's inappropriate for the family per se that I've discovered anyway. But some interesting things, some like stenographer training things, how to train your bird sounds, how to train your bird to speak. So this lady saying hello, 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 like over and over and over for 20 minutes. I get some weird stuff. I like the weird stuff though, especially vintage weird stuff. So we definitely have a lot of material for future. Vinyl Rage says, just got the Charlie Brown Christmas tiny vinyl. Is that the 3-inch ones? Those are cool. Yeah, I have that set. Those are really neat. Really, really neat stuff. Gummy Green. It's going good, man. I appreciate you being there, or gal, person. Thank you for asking. I'm blessed, and today was a great day. And trying to think anything interesting that I have to convey regarding Recordology right now. If you haven't done so already, please go watch our How Do Record Players Work video. I tried to make that not only for beginners, but also for people that have more experience, and just, it's an entertaining video. It was a very technical edit. There was a lot of content we put in there. And then also at the end of the show, I do this collab with the Victrola guy. I show his lathe and some test records and how he does it. He uses a 500 watt amp pumped into a sapphire tip recording head. It's amazing. So check that out. Definitely check out our podcast episodes. I post every Wednesday. Yes, give a thumbs up if you wouldn't mind. I appreciate it. Thanks, Miles High. I appreciate the thumbs up. They don't cost anything, and they help support the channel immensely. Tell your friends. I mean, if you're chatting with people, say, hey, there's this channel called Recordology. I would appreciate it. Subscribe if you haven't done so. For everybody watching the replay that couldn't be here, I apologize. The notification system sucks on YouTube. But we try to make these available after the fact for that reason. Our membership program is $1. What else? We got new merch, the vinyl totes. I showed you one of the older ones. We've got new music that my wife just released, Always Rain, on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever music is available for streaming or purchase online. And I do feature, I am helping her out sing. Helping her isn't the right word. I am on there singing a duet with her in our latest song, which is not Ain't Misbehaving, it's Let's Misbehave, which, as it turns out, are two different songs. So I just want to say a huge thank you to everybody being there. We appreciate you guys. We got a ton of cool content coming very shortly, but that's going to do it for now, guys. God bless each and every one of you. You are in my thoughts and prayers always, every night. I say a prayer for you guys, and I just want you to know how much I appreciate you. Take care of one another. It's a little rough around the edges. Have a wonderful evening, and we will see you very, very soon.